you know.
Singers too.
Alright. Alrighty, I think we're good. We're good to go. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another Fridays Live. It's great to be here with you guys. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Melbourne. I'm sitting here in the showroom. I'm looking at lovely clients having their awesome appointments on a Friday arvo. We got a few rings to set. You guys coming along for the ride. Thank you very much for being here. It's been a great week. Busy week, a lot going on. It's only been one live this week. We've only one live for a couple of weeks now, going forward. And we've got a few other things in the works to bring you some workshop content. So we're going to look to slowly grow that as well. But we're here now, so let's start talking about what we're doing. So in our board bias, you can see here, we have a 2.1 elongated cushion going into our Leonora setting in yellow gold, high set, which is really, really nice. Elongated cushions, we've been talking about it so much on the socials that it's so popular right now, which is phenomenal. So I'm really keen to set this one with you guys. Anything you may need, queries, questions, thoughts, stuff you want to know, please shoot them through. I'm more than happy to answer them. I've got Zave who's lurking around in the background over here, just configuring some stuff. He's going to be in our chat box, replying to as many questions and comments stuff as possible. And I'll also try and get to as many as I can. Now, without me doing too much talking for the next hour or so, let's just get started as well. So, as always, every setting starts the same. I'm going to open up these claws and we're going to have a look at our diamond. So I did say it was a 2.1 carat elongated cushion, and that is an E VS1. So E color, VS1 clarity, great specs, colorless, barely very slightly included. You can't even see. Look at that, incredible scintillation. Quite like that personally, to be honest. I might poach that for myself. Well, not really, but I like it. So here we go. Claws opened up. Let's drop our stone in quickly. And we'll have a look how it's going to sit. Actually sits really, really nice straight off the bat, which is phenomenal. Up my brightness a little bit because it's a little bit dark. We're going to get my trusty little prong pusher here, and I'm just going to mark the inside of the setting with the stone. If you've joined in before, you'll know that I like to mark the inside with the stone so I can see where it's touching. So you can see we're doing that seesaw action at the moment. That means that we're pushing on somewhere and we can see these deep marks, these bruises, we call them bruises, from the diamond left in the bezel. That means the diamond is touching on those 2 points. So in order to drop the height of the stone, we're going to take that metal away in those sections so that facet can sit into its own little cave. You don't have to do that, like I said, but it is rocking on a bit of a seesaw. So that seesawing action will mean it's really hard to get it nice and tight and get the stone really secure. So we want to avoid any issues. We always want to get our stones as low as possible and get them nice and comfortable with the least amount of tension or resistance, especially on our facets that come to a nice point. So we can see that on the sides here, they come to a really pointed section. So I just want to make sure that that's really nice and protected. I have a question from my dearest friend, Alicia. She said, can you show me the Otis ring? my dear friend and everybody else here, I wish I could show you the Otis ring. Please jump onto our socials and scroll through and have a look. I am going to make sure that we get that up on a story this afternoon for Alicia, but for everyone else to know, that's what we're talking about. That was an incredible elongated cushion ring that designer came up with, and we, as a team and as a company, we put together and donated to a charity for auction for them to raise money for the Otis Foundation. Please look them up. Quick shout out to the Otis Foundation. They offer respite and getaways to families suffering from breast cancer. So it's all about getting that time back together and just being away from the mundane and having a little getaway. So please check out the Otis Foundation, and I will find out how we can get that ring back on the socials, because that may not be on this week's plan, but I'm really glad that we're going to be able to show it again. So after that awesome, beautiful request that we had, I'm going to go back to cutting out the other side of this ring. And most of the diamonds you'll see here, we don't really do any really irregular cuts, but they're really symmetrical. So anything you do on one side of the bezel of the ring, you're usually going to do to the other side. Only in special circumstances where the ring is not symmetrical at all, then it's a little bit different. But in this instance, it is. So we take it out of both sides, and you can see it's really close. But you can see that point drops in, and it's a bit less seesawing, which is great. But I'm not touching as much as I would like, so I'm going to cut a little bit more out. But just before that, Trish, when you shed the prongs, it doesn't scratch the stone at all, right? That is correct. When once I've set everything, I push the claws over, we get to the part where I've hammered them all down, and I'm going to file them. When I file it, I'm very careful with my file, always have to be careful. But with diamonds, no, the file won't damage the diamonds, which is super, super great. The diamond actually cuts my file and will, over time, destroy my files. I have to get rid of it and get a new one. So diamonds are super hard. They will cut everything, but you still need to be careful. You can still, if there's a little hidden, how do I explain it? In the growth of the diamond, when the diamond is forming, there could be some fault lines or some, slight inconsistencies, but you can't see them. But if you hit it on the sweetest of spots, it may chip. So I'm not saying that to scare anyone, but we just want to be really careful, especially on our making and crafting process, that we're really mindful of where we put our tools and how we use them. On other stones like moissanites or our sapphires as well, need to be really, really careful, because you can very easily chip and scratch them. And it does happen, I've seen it. And yeah, we need to just be super, super mindful with those softer stones as well. I'm going to jump back over here to Chantel. Does cutting out the ring make the basket less durable? Perfect. That's a great question. And my dear friend Alicia's come back, has doubled down with a quick one that I'll answer. What is the ratio of the stone? The stone's ratio, according to my lovely certificate here, is a 1.37, which is actually quite nice. It's a little bit wider than, doesn't seem right actually, but okay, 1.37. I would have assumed it's a little bit longer as opposed to wider, so it's probably over that 1.5 times, but I've got my good friend Xavier here checking that for me, but I'm going to guess we're sitting at around probably a 150 range. I don't think it's at a 130 personally, but can't wait to be wrong. And to go back to the other question that I had, which has already escaped me. Sorry. Does cutting metal out make the basket less durable? Chantal, is a great question. The answer is technically yes, but there's a line. So there's a tolerance, and there's things we need to guide for. So on our current setting, you can see that we've got a nice, reasonably thick support bar basket here. So there's enough room for me to be able to cut in a little bit. Now, that is a very good point. We don't want to get too happy with our ball burr and start cutting all the metal away and we leave paper thin, because it can crack, it can warp over time, it can have a lot of damage. So it's a fine line between, taking just, a little bit. I like to be a little bit conservative and take a little bit less out than you could. But it also comes down to our CAD work that's why we CAD our rings to suit the diamonds, and our settings to suit that specific stone, to make sure that bezel is thick enough and wide enough, and it's going to be able to take me cutting a little bit out for it to have that long life durability going forward. Now I'm just waiting for an update on our ratio. Apparently it is a 1.37, but for a 1.37 I'm pretty happy with that. I like that a lot. I'm not sure why. Not sure why it looks like, why I don't believe it. If I looked at the measurements, I would know that. It's like a 9.2 by 6.7, sorry. So yeah, either way, guys, I'd be jumping on these 1.37 to 1.4 elongated cushions. I think that's a fantastic ratio. Quite like it, actually. It's got great presence. It's wide, but not super wide. It's nice and long. Get that elongation of the finger as well. So yeah, I think I've flapped gums enough for a moment. So I'm going to keep going with this ring as well while you guys jump back in the text box. And I'm just going to have a look here. I just want to take just a little bit more because I'm just touching on those north-south ends. So I just want to get it nice and snug. So just take a little bit more out of the east-west, and I'll have a look at something here. Quick question here. I've got engaged 2 weeks ago. Congratulations. But the diamond is windowing. I learned this now. But the jeweler said he doesn't know what it is. What do you suggest, as it takes some of the bling away? Look, every diamond is different and every scenario is different. And you're not going to love the answer I'm going to give you, but I'm going to be really diplomatic and say, without seeing it and without knowing, and if it came from us, then it's a whole other conversation. But the answer to that is subjective to the scenario. If it's whoever you got it from, I would definitely be looking to have a conversation with them as to what we can do. If it's from us, you definitely need to get back in touch with us so we can have a chat. We can work out what's going on and what we can do about that as well. But it may be some stones and some cut of stone have, maybe subjected to, maybe predisposed to having a bit more windowing based on their cut. Like a round brilliant cut. It's a standardized 67 facet cut. Everyone knows what's going on. Proportions are written down. Everything is perfect. So that's what people are aiming for. With other cuts like elongated cushions and movals and all that kind of stuff, there's no real perfect number and percentage ratio like there is with a round. So it can really vary a lot. But if you're really not sure or not happy, I would definitely get back in touch with your jeweler or the person who has made your ring, and just try and have a conversation with them about what's going on and how you're feeling, and look to find a solution that way. I will be, like I said, I'm really diplomatic about the whole thing because it's a highly personal situation, and I don't want to say that another jeweler or another craftsperson is better than me or worse than me, or I respect everyone's ability and everyone's work, and sometimes things don't go the way we want them to, so everyone deserves an opportunity to try and help and solve that scenario as well, because things happen, you don't know. I have something else here on the, where am I? Perfect. Ivana, do you think a 173 marquee without a bar and a 6-prong is too risky? Again, subjective. I have seen it. My recommendation with in your scenario is probably to put something in there, a little hidden halo or a bar. And my reasoning for that is marquees are very long. They're really long, elongated stone, which is beautiful, nice and slender. It makes the finger look phenomenal, and it also scintillates really well. However, I wouldn't want, over such a long spread, I wouldn't want it to get caught. It's a lot of room. So I probably would opt for a support bar, in my personal opinion, of some variety. You can put a hidden halo, a wrap around, you put something there to even decorate like a pedal prong or something just to add a little bit of support, just because of the length. Especially if you're going to go north-south, it's just really long along the finger. That would be my recommendation. But again, I would chat as well to our awesome client advisor in our showroom. They can also help guide you on some design options as well to try and add some extra support in without making it clunky or taking away from your overall look and design you want to go for. But that's a really good question. It's a really good one. Because I'm sure there's plenty of places and plenty of people that say, yeah, it's fine, just do it. And I, again, not saying they're wrong. I would just err very slightly on the side of caution, because we want to make sure that, one, you have longevity, and two, that you know, you have your stone forever and you don't ever want it to come loose, or you don't want it to fall out. And you know, you hear plenty of horror stories of things that might happen and have happened to people. You just don't want to have them happen to you. So yeah, that's my personal recommendation. But again, yeah, it's up to you as well. Definitely up to you. Alrighty, so drop this stone back in. I'm really like super happy with how that's sitting. I can't rock that anymore. I'm trying to move my fingers and I can't. So it's touching all four sides of that setting on the inside, which is phenomenal. I'm now going to cut out the little bearings, the seats on the claws, that is going to hug our stone, keep it nice and tight and in place. So I'm just going to go with a slightly smaller ball burr than the one I just had. And that's because, again, I want to take away the least amount of metal as possible. So really gently, we're just going to make some little seats for our stone. Now, I will say as well, guys, I do have a second ring that I'm hoping that we can set together today as well. That I'm hoping that we don't run out of time for. But in the future going forward, if you guys want to see a specific design or, you know, a special type of ring, please send them through in our DMs, and we can very much try and accommodate that in these lives. We have a lot of stock to set for our showrooms. So both of these rings are definitely going to one of our new showrooms. So if there's something specific you want to see, please shoot that through. And I can try and grab it before we've already set it, and we can set it here on the live and talk about it and go through the whole thing. Just so that we have some variety, and I make sure that you guys see all the stuff that you really want to see. Because for us, you know, we see a lot of variety all day, and we forget sometimes, you know, we might show you too many ovals and you say, yeah, but what about emeralds? And you're like, oh man, I haven't shown any emeralds lately. So I just want to make sure that, you know, whatever you guys want to see, we're trying to get as much coverage of that as possible. All right, bearings are cut. Let's have a look how they're sitting with our stone in place. Super nice. There's a little bit of room there to bring our claw up and over, which is perfect. So when we drag that claw in and over, that's going to squeeze in that gap, which is awesome. I'm now going to just take the inside of those claws away. I want to make them flat. The reason for that is I want them to sit flat and flush on top of the stone. I don't want the curve, because the curve means we don't have maximum surface area on the stone. I have a question from Jessica. 2-carat oval in a bezel setting, no halo at all. How should I ensure it's extra sturdy? Look, if you're going into a bezel setting anyway, you're already on that super right path of it being super sturdy. I wouldn't panic too much. Like, don't stress. I'd be really confident in a bezel that, you know, I'd be confident in all our settings that the stone is going to hold. Things can always happen, like bumps and knocks, and stones can always come a little bit loose. As long as they don't fall out and you catch them when they're loose and you go, oh, this is moving a little bit, we can always fix that. But I would definitely go for the bezel if you're a bit worried. Bezel is awesome. Some nice cathedral shoulders. You can't really go wrong. If you don't want to put a hidden halo on that as well, that's fine. Like, that's okay. Bezel on its own is perfectly perfectly good option. One from Ollie. Is a trilogy ring more difficult to make and set? Do you start with the center stone or the sides? Ollie, that's a great question. A trilogy ring is a little bit, it is more complicated to make and a little bit more time consuming, I would say, to set, and can be a little bit more difficult depending on the design. So once the ring is assembled and cleaned and ready for setting, you're actually just better off starting with the outside stones, your two side stones, because you want to get them at the same height. So if you set them, you want to get them at the same height, which is my first point. So you can set one, set the other one, check the height, get that right, and then finish them. And then you want to set the center stone last, because you need the access to the claws nearest the center stone for the side stones, which you can't access with the center stone in place. That's a lot of words, but in short, side stones first, center stone second, and it's a lot more time consuming and slightly more complicated depending on the design than something like this, let's say like a standard solitaire. All right, so we're just going to take we're going to open these little seats up again. And I do this so that we don't want the claws to be too heavy, so that when I push them over, they want to lift off the stone. I want to keep them really flush. So we make these little caves, just so that when I hammer them down, they'll end up flat again. But it's just so that when I bend those claws over, I have maximum maneuverability, and it's nice and malleable, so that we can get the stone super, super flush. If the stone is not flush on the claws, then you end up with catchy claws, and then your claw gets stuck on your clothes. It puts a hole in your clothes, and your claw can rip off, and then you're ringing us having to come in to get that assessed and get that fixed. So I want to avoid that from the start, and that's why we spend so much time and focus on these, on the setting of our center stone. Now you'll see I'm just bringing these claws in because I want them to get a little bit tighter on the stone before I push them over. So I want the stone to be really stiff trying to get in to that setting, which means the bottom of our claws are hugging the stone nicely. So what I might do is just give this a little squeeze, because I still have to clean up the inside of the setting as well, which is super important. We don't want to forget. Another key part that I don't want to miss is I'm just going to put a little pilot hole at the bottom of the setting. Now, nothing big, but just something like that. Now the reason is when I push the claws over and that stone compresses into that setting, I want to make sure the culé, the point of the stone, is open. I don't want it touching anything, so that when you knock it and the force goes through the stone, it doesn't press into that metal and potentially chip or break or damage your stone. I want it to have nice room around it, so that it's got a bit of wiggle room to move with bumps and knocks and stuff over time. Really shallow, I haven't taken much out, so it's not like it's a super structural problem, but it is really important to make sure that you're supporting your culé by having it not touch anything. Everywhere else on the ring, we want to have maximum contact. We want the stone to touch really well, but on the culé of the stone, we want no contact at all. Alright, so like I said before, I'm going to go in with a little cleaning tool. This is a little silicone, like a little bullet, and we just go in and smooth over all of those burr marks that I've made with my ball burr, with my tool. Just want to soften all of that. So that when I polish it, you'll see I've got this beautiful shine again. Now, again, not a critical thing to do. Not something that everyone does, not something that is super important or, is going to save the day to protect your stone. What it does do is it shows that little bit of extra care and makes sure it's a super, super flush and it's got maximum, it's just really clean on the inside. It's a nice, clean way to work. And make sure that, all these details that our clients may never see, and this is for a showroom ring, so no one's even bought this yet, but all our jobs and every ring and every piece that we make is being looked after to the utmost level, and it is super, super, super highly respected as well, in the hope that someone is going to pick it as their forever ring. So, like I said, I'm going to give it a little polish, get rid of all this mess. And you can see we get all that shine back, which is just incredible. So when you look at your ring from all the different angles, it's got super, super high polish. Okay? Now I'm going to drop my stone back in. Yep, that's nice and square. I'm happy with that. Alright, I'm going to bring my claws over. So, what I'm going to do is start one at a time and just gently start to bend them over. Now, you do them one at a time and you work on diagonals to make sure that the stone stays straight in the setting. I don't warp the setting to one side. The stone doesn't go to one way. You're always checking, always checking. Every movement you check. So at the moment I want the stone to turn a little bit. Now, what's the consequence if you don't check, you ask? Well, if you don't check after all your movements what you're doing, you can end up setting the stone crooked. Once the stone's in crooked, it's very difficult to try and maneuver the ring again and open the claws up and move it around and try and force it, whatever. It's very difficult to try and get it straight. Now, it's possible, but the problem is you may have to take the stone out again and take some more metal and this and that, and a lot of touching. You want to touch it the least amount of times as possible. So all the checking and stuff I do in between means that only take the least amount of metal away possible. We don't overwork the ring either. So, let's have a look. I'm really happy. That's nice and straight. Now I'm going to worry about lining up our claws to make sure they're all pointing in the same direction. Which is good. Get a bit of a squeeze. All right. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm happy with how that looks, is I'm going to hammer the claws down. So, I have this little hammer handpiece here. I'm going to put my little hammer attachment in to here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to turn off the microphone because it's really loud, because it's like a compressed air little gun. And what it does is it goes drrrr, and we're going to hammer those claws straight onto the stone. It means no gap, no catchy claws, no lifting, which is obviously what we want, but I'm going to turn the mic off because it is incredibly painful to listen to. And if you've got headphones on and you're listening to this live, you may never want to watch another one if I do this in your ear. So I'm going to put some background music on now, turn the mic off, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Alrighty, so thanks for your patience, guys. You'll see I did do a bit of filing just so I can get that extra hammering in before I come back to you guys. Gonna answer a couple of questions now. From Kando, it amazes me how the stone doesn't get damaged during filing. Yes, perfect. Yes, it is really cool. The diamond is scratching my file. It's really hard for me to show you, but you can see that polished edge glinting. That's where the diamond is cutting my file. So I do need to sharpen my file regularly so that I can use it, because yeah, the diamond will do the damage to my file. However, on softer stones, my file will damage the stone. So sapphires and some moissanites, could be really careful, can do damage as well. So always need to be really mindful. And 99.999% of the time, diamonds are fine, except if you get one that is having a bad day and wants to let you know about it, then you're in trouble. And the other question, while I keep going, is what do we do with the gold shreds? So you can see that there is little bits of gold here, all hanging around. That all gets collected, melted down, and we use it to make more rings. So it's all collected and recycled, because that's super, super important. We don't want to be throwing any of that away. So yeah, we keep our golds, our platinum, yellow, white, rose gold, all that kind of stuff separate, and we use them to make new rings, or we make some pieces for our resizes. If the ring has to go up, we have to put a bit of metal in. We use that for that as well, and wire. So if you've seen our laser welder videos, all that wire we have to make as well. So we melt all these, pull the wire to our right dimensions, and then use it there. So there's a lot of reusing of material, which is fantastic, because one, it is very expensive, so you don't want to be wasteful, but also it is good for the environment too. When there's parts of jewellery that isn't great for the environment, reusing and recycling as much as you can is really beneficial. So we're just going to get a scoot on to finish this ring. Hopefully get to our second one. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with my little engraver, the sharp little cutting tool, and what I'm going to do is we're going to clean up these claws to make them super, super pointy and straight, and be able to get them nice and polished to match the rest of our ring. Now you can see, even before I polish it, it's a lot shinier than it was if I left it with just the file marks. But it's all about following the nice process step by step to get a really good result. If I skip this step, my claws might not be perfectly straight or flat, or I might have deep lines that I can't get out later when I go to polish it. So it's really important you follow a nice process to get to the end result. And this is one that has been tried and practiced over probably thousands of diamonds that I've set. Alright, I'm done with this ring in the ball vise. What I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to take it out, answer some questions, finish this one up, and hopefully get to our second one. Does the gold get stuck in your fingers? Great question. So if you're not careful, especially when you're doing a bezel setting, you can get really sharp bits like stab you in the finger. That really hurts. Most jewelers will tell you stories that they have bits of metal stuck in their hand. Usually it's steel, but which would be gross. But yes, but most of the time all these shavings don't get stuck in your finger. Like, they're on my hands, like imagine like dust. But what I'm done here, we finished the live. Before I get up, I wipe my hands, sweep everything off, put it all together, put it in a little tub, and I take it, we put it in our safe for when we go to reuse it again, so that we're collecting everything properly. But if it gets stuck on my hands or under my nails and stuff, it's not as though it gets like it's painfully in my finger, but it is really important that we collect all of that as well, or else that's a lot of dust and that's a lot of money and precious metals that we're losing as well. So I'm just going to look to sharpen this quickly. Right, you can see that I'm just smoothing all the sides of these rings, of those flat sections that I worked on before. Again, just following that process. Now, what is a fun party trick, which I don't always recommend, is you can use the diamond to shape the wheel. Now, again, I would never do this on a client stone just in case, but on this one, if I get it wrong, I will wear the burden of that. But again, the diamond is super, super hard. It will cut absolutely everything. I just need to be really careful that I don't put a diamond disc to it, because that will definitely destroy our center stone and then we're in trouble. But it's just a great reminder of how hard and how strong diamonds are and their incredible capabilities, which is wild. While I make a quick change here that I'm now lost, I'll answer another question from Kat. I just joined, so I missed what you were saying previously. My fiance and I wanted a solitaire elongated cushion ring. Is having a full gallery rail absolutely necessary, or only on two sides? Now, that's another great question. You can just do it on two sides, which is your east-west side, leave your north-south side open. That's okay. I wouldn't, that is perfectly fine. Every ring, I give the same warning to everyone I talk to about their jewelry. Doesn't matter how, even bezels and everything like that. It's really important that you take care when wearing the ring. That's probably my ultimate advice, because if I show you my rings, they're all scratched and stuff as well. And if you saw our video with Juliet the other day, you'll see that I said the only way to not scratch a ring is to not wear it. Now, no one wants to do that. Everyone wants to wear their ring and their jewelry, which is totally fair enough. But it's really important that we're careful and mindful of where and when we're wearing our jewelry and how we're wearing it. So you can definitely only get the support bar on two sides. I would just say be super mindful of, of your ring. Make sure you get your setting checks every so often to make sure everything is all good, and just be really mindful of, what you do with your ring. But again, if you had, support bar on all four sides, I'd probably tell you the same. I'm going to tell you the same. Make sure you're careful. Look after your rings. And don't wear them anywhere you wouldn't wear an expensive pair of shoes or expensive handbag. You're not going to wear them in the shower, those really expensive shoes, so don't wear your ring in the shower. People hate that. People are like, yeah, but I never want to take it off. I know, trust me, I know, but yeah, you can do damage, and if something's wrong and you knock your ring in the shower and your stone comes out and goes down the drain, well, that's just absolute heartache right there. So trying to avoid those kind of scenarios. So yeah, take them off. But yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying yes, two sides are completely fine. All right, so we're pretty much done, guys. I'm just going to give it a really quick little buff on top of my little brush, like I did on the inside of the ring, to show you what it looks like now that it's done. You can see beautiful high polish right there. So that's all that prep work I did, gets us this beautiful finish. I'm just going to finish this one, and I'm going to quickly grab a couple more questions and see if we've got some time to move to our second ring. have a look at that, guys. Done. Leonora, 2.1. Lovely basket. Awesome. So that's our first ring done and dusted. I'm going to have a look at some questions now as well. For trilogy rings, I've noticed sometimes that they'll use 2 different types of prongs. Why is that? That's a great question. So while I do a quick changeover, before I get to that question, I won't forget, we're going to go to our second ring and we're going to try and speed through this one. So this is Haley, and I'll show you now. It's Haley on our lovely curved design, 2-carat oval. So let me just put this in and I'll answer that question. So why do we use 2 different claws? Now, that's a really good question. Depending on the type of design, type of trilogy we have, sometimes with like a trellis design, we might do, let's say, a trellis trilogy ring, and we got an oval, or let's say an oval in the middle, and we have 2 pairs on the side. Now, if it escapes me the name of that ring, because it is one of our designs, but it is Amara. Okay, we're doing Amara. Now, with those trellis designs, we might come up and do all that sweeping things, and the pairs might be with round claws, and the center stone with eagle tips. Now, why do we do that? We do that because you might not be able to get great access to the claws to make them nice little eagle tips. We do that to potentially support the point on that design a little bit better. It just varies, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can adjust them all and say, I want them all round, or I want them all eagle tip. But we find sometimes that you want something different. Trilogy, eagle tips in the center that draw your attention, and nice subtle rounds on your support side stones as well. There's no real hard and fast rule, but it's a lot about personal choice and design optionality. But that's a really good question as well. All right, so I'm just going to keep moving. We've got this oval, east-west, curvy, wavy band, which is super cool, really, really modern. Grab my stone out. Let's have a look how it's going to fit. It's also an EVS1, for anyone wondering. So same as our elongated cushion. Thank you very much for answering. That really helps a lot. You are more than welcome. I have one here as well. What's more secure, round or pointy? Look, it's a age-old debate, and you can get so many answers on the internet from so many different people. My answer is, again, maybe not one that everyone's like, oh, just say yes or no. But mine is, as long as the stone is set properly and the claws are done properly, you're good either way. I personally like round claws. I've always liked round claws. I think they're just super, super nice and subtle. You show off that diamond really, really well. But working here and doing a lot of eagle tips, because we do a lot of eagle tip claws here, I've found that I've actually come to like them. I do a lot of them all day, every day, and I actually don't mind it. I think these are really nice. On some elongated stones, they look super good. Even on a round, the symmetry of it is just awesome. So yeah, I'm not going to say one is super more secure than the other, but as long as the stone is set well, you're good. Doesn't matter if you've got square claws or bezels or love heart claws, which we've done before as well, which is crazy. But yeah, it's all about, as long as the process and the setting is good, you're good either way, in my opinion. Now, like with our elongated cushion, I'm going to cut these claws. Alright, so we're just really focusing in here, get these claws cut. Getting them even and getting the height the same is super critical as well. If they don't match, the height doesn't match, then the stone is not going to sit straight. So we need to make sure that we're keeping that really level as well. Alrighty. Now, like before, I'm going to grab our stone, drop it in, have a look. Good, really happy with that height. Happy with all of that, I think. Which is great. So what am I going to do now? What I'm going to do now is, on this one specifically, I'm not going to cut away anything in the bezel. I like how it sits ready. I don't need to do any work, which is phenomenal. I'm going to swap over and flatten the inside of my claws. Are all the stones supposed to stick? Sorry, are all the stones supposed to click into the seat when sitting? Most of the time, yes. I would say you want them as super tight as possible. There is a tolerance, of course. Like, you know, you can always have a little bit of gap and things can happen. But you want them, in an ideal world, you'd have them super, super tight. But again, we are only human, and it can be really difficult sometimes to get them machine perfect. So you want to get them as tight as possible in those little seats. Right. I'm going to cut up the inside like I did the other one. I am using a slightly different tool. That's because the claw thickness is a little bit different. So this one will just cut in to create that nice little cave for me. But it'll also be nice and skinny as well. So I don't take away too much width on the inside. Perfect. And again, like on our Elon cushion, I'm just going to bring these claws in a little bit. Alright, gonna swap back over to our little cleaning wheel, little bullet. And we're just gonna get in there and prep everything for a little polish before we get going to setting the stone. Now, even if we don't cut anything away or do any work, it's always important to just prep everything and give it a last minute polish, because we have done a lot of touching in the area, so you may put some little scratches and dents and all of that kind of stuff in as well. What is your opinion on compass prongs? Great question. I think they're super new school and they're really on trend. I quite like them. I'd be really selective of when I use them. So if I've got a stone that has corners, definitely wouldn't be doing compass. So like a princess cut, or I'd be a little bit skeptical on like emeralds or radiance as well. I like the look, but it's a little bit edgy with those big exposed sides, the corners. But really cool. I really like them. Ovals look awesome with it. Like, gives it like this super funky feel. I wouldn't be upset if we did some more of them. I think it's a really cool trend and something that still holds the stone in really well, without, sometimes people do these really cool designs, but, we get asked to make them and they're not super structurally safe. So we have to say no, and I hate doing that. But I think compass claws can be really, really beneficial and really secure at the same time. Alright. So, grab our diamond back. Drop that in. Nice and fitted. Awesome. Look top down. Say yes, thank you. Alright, just like I did with the elongated cushion, push our little prong pusher, and we're just going to one at a time fold our claws straight over that stone. So I like to hold it I like to hold the stone while I'm pushing it over so it doesn't move too much. It's always going to move, at least a little bit, but I want to control it as much as possible so that it doesn't skew too far one way, or like it is now, it's a little bit high on one side. So I'll just grab my other pliers and lift the claw up and push down on the other side that needs to come down a little bit. That's better. Check it top down. Alright. Rotate this. Perfect. Now I'm just going to try and get this to rotate ever so slightly. Just want it to move a little bit. And then I'm going to go back to pushing the rest of my claws down. Okay. Much better. Good. Good. Alright. So, like I did before, if you're just tuning in, I'm going to turn the mic off. I'm going to use my little hammer hand piece and go brrr and hammer those claws at nice and flush. Bear with me. I will get the mic back on and we're going to wrap up this live together when we show our final product. All right, we're back, guys. So you'll see I just did a little filing of the claws, get them shaped so I could hammer them down one last time before I turn the mic back on, so you don't have to hear any of that. So now I'm just getting nice and close to get that final shape together, which is really important. The nice long eagle tips, not too long, but nice and straight, flat sides. And we're going to round that top off nicely, get it to a really nice point. I'm going to quickly answer a question while I swap my tools and we go to clean up these claws. Alright. I've got another question here. Is it possible to have a ring customized with no gallery rail, or is it something Cullen would avoid, not recommend? Went to a local jeweler and saw an elongated cushion, but it had no gallery rail. I touched on this, something similar to this before. Everyone's going to have their own recommendations of what you can and can't do, and what you should and shouldn't do, and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not going to say it's the only only opinion you have to listen to. And I'm not going to say you can't do anything else, but I can tell you how I feel and how we feel as a company, as a team, and what we would advise. There are certain circumstances, certain rings and designs that you are pretty free to have a solitaire with no support bar, gallery rail, hidden halo, anything like that. In the terms of an elongated cushion, I probably personally wouldn't recommend. Again, it's also very subjective to that design. So what else is that design bringing to support the stone? But, you know, it's hard to say without seeing, you know, an exact example, because I might say no to elongated cushions. However, I see this ring and say, oh yes, but they've got this extra support thing, which is really helpful. You don't have a support bar, but you got this other thing that protects a stone. So that seems pretty good. So I don't want to comment on anyone else's work. I definitely don't want to say their work's no good or they're wrong or anything like that. I only want to talk about what we do and what my opinion is, and that is to, you know, put a hidden halo or put a little support bar even on two sides. Is definitely better than having nothing, because again, you just want to make sure you've got that longevity and security of the diamond in the setting, and you know, it's going to last a whole lifetime and it's going to live on after you, and it's not going to come out or anything like that. So for that reason, I would recommend going with a support bar or some form of support system. But if someone, and that is the strong belief of us all here at Cullen. However, if you choose to not want to do that and you want to go ahead and somewhere else, that kind of thing, everyone else is going to give you a different opinion as well. I, again, don't want to can anybody else's opinion, because everyone is free to have their own, and like you're free to make your choice. But yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And I come from the perspective of, I just don't want anyone to have any issues down the track. I don't want stones to get lost. And you know, I don't want people to go through that kind of heartache, because I've seen it and it is not really nice at all. Alright, so I'm just using my graver here to get these nice flat sides, to get them nice and tight. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go in with some different little wheels to polish them all. So I'm going to have them flat, but I also need to get them nice and prepped for a polish, because if I leave them like this, you're going to see all the little marks and lines. So I want to make sure we get rid of them before we go to polish our ring. Alright. Okay, there we go. Alright, like I did before, I'm going to take the ring out of the vise, and you're going to see, if you can't already, there's this Thermolock stuff in it, this grey looking blue tack. That's what's holding the ring nice and secure while I've got it in my clamp, or else I will bend these lovely wave design, and then it's really hard to try and fix. So mind that. Any tips for choosing a well-made tennis bracelet? That's a great question. It's really hard. Tennis bracelets are really hard. They're very fine and very delicate. It's also, again, like anything else, I'll give the same advice. It's a lot about, where you get it from, and, if you're a bit concerned, do they have any warranty? How do they, how do they feel about their product? Will they stand by it as well if something goes wrong? And it's, a lot, you got to ask yourself all of those questions and make sure you're happy with, wherever you're purchasing it from. But also you need to be mindful of how you're wearing it, when you're wearing it, what you're doing while you're wearing it. So if you're not careful and you wear it all the time, and maybe you wear it to bed, and it might get caught and snap, because it is very, very delicate. It's being held together by very thin pieces of metal, so it can break. So like everything, I'm really proactive on making sure people are educated and aware of how to correctly wear their jewelry, and make sure that take it off at the right time, put it on at the right time, and that way you look after your jewelry will always look after you. But yes, there are a lot of tennis bracelets out there. I would just make sure you're happy with where you're purchasing from, and they have, they're really supportive of you and the purchase, and if something may go wrong, that you're going to be looked after as well. Okay, so I'm just going to get to our wrapping up stage here. It's going to finish shaping these claws. So they're nice and smooth on the sides. I'm just going to make sure they're nice and round on the tops and the back to match the profile as it comes up from the bottom of the ring. Alright, so you can see there we've got our main shape. It looks super cute. I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to give it a quick polish for you guys, and then we're going to have to unfortunately say goodbye for today and wrap up our week. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this live. I know I've had a great time. You guys have been phenomenal with the questions. There's been so many that we've had to haven't been able to get to them all, and I do apologize. I just didn't want to keep you guys here waiting for 5 hours while I set 2 jobs. So that's also my something I'm really conscious of. But again, your support and your continual return to watch these awesome lives is a great feeling. It's really great to have your support, and yeah, it makes me really excited to come back every week to do it bigger and better every week. And just like that, just finish polishing these last big little sides. There we go. Now it's a little bit dirty, so you just got to mind that. We'll give this little section, have to give that a little polish as well. But there we go. 2 carat, Haley oval, EVS1. Awesome. There's that one. Then we grab my other ring as well, if you guys have a look at. And there we go. Guys, thank you very much again. It's been an absolute pleasure. Your questions have been phenomenal. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and weekend, depending on where you are in the world. So when you get to your weekend, I hope you guys have a great time, and stay tuned. We'll be back next week for another Fridays Live. Bye guys.